The crystal palace of the Zirith Empire glowed with soft blue light as dawn rose across the floating capital. Every royal hall hummed with energy because today was meant to be a historic day. Delegates from every star system were gathered. Great banners floated above the royal chamber. The emperor himself stood proudly at the center of the throne stage. This day was meant to mark the start of a powerful alliance between humans and the Zirith Empire. Princess Lyra walked slowly toward the ceremony platform. The eyes of the galaxy were upon her. Her silver robe shimmered like living starlight. Everyone expected her to smile. Everyone expected her to agree. Everyone believed she would follow tradition without question. But the truth inside her heart burned hotter than any star. She did not want this marriage. She did not trust the purpose behind it. And she knew the cost of silence would be far greater than the cost of rebellion. When she reached the center of the hall, she looked up at her father. The emperor's expression was calm and strong. He raised his hand to signal the beginning of the royal announcement. The human ambassador stepped forward with a proud smile. The entire hall went quiet. This was the moment the empire had waited for. But Lyra did not bow. She did not smile. She did not speak the words of acceptance. Instead, she took a deep breath and let her voice ring through the chamber with unexpected power. "Father, I refuse to marry a human." The air changed instantly. Gasps echoed like breaking glass. Ministers froze in shock. The human ambassador lowered his hand very slowly. The royal guards looked at one another. Even the giant crystal lights seemed to stop glowing for a moment. No one had ever publicly disobeyed the emperor. No princess in the history of the royal bloodline had ever rejected a diplomatic marriage. And never in front of the entire galaxy. Emperor stared at his daughter with disbelief. "Lyra," he said in a steady but dangerous tone, "you will explain this at once." Princess Lyra held her ground. Her voice did not shake. Her heartbeat raced, but her courage stood stronger than her fear. "I cannot accept this marriage. Something is wrong with this agreement. I feel it. I know it. And I will not be silent." The room erupted with whispers. Some ministers believed she was being dramatic. Others feared she had just destroyed centuries of peace. A few looked at her with secret satisfaction, as if they had been waiting for a disaster like this. The emperor stepped down from his throne. His steps echoed through the silent hall. "Princess Lyra," he said, "this alliance is crucial for the survival of our empire. Your refusal threatens everything we have built." Lyra lifted her chin. "I understand the risk. But I cannot marry someone I do not trust, and I cannot ignore the things I have discovered. Files, records, messages that do not match the story. We were told." The human ambassador finally spoke. "Your Highness, if there is a misunderstanding, we can resolve it." Lyra turned her eyes to him. She searched his face. He looked calm, honest, but something deeper in her spirit whispered a warning. She had uncovered fragments of information pointing to a hidden agenda, something bigger than her father. Something hidden inside the palace itself. "I do not accuse you," she said, "but I cannot move forward until the truth is clear." The emperor clenched his jaw. The hall felt colder. "You have embarrassed our empire before every world gathered here." He said, "You will reconsider." Lyra shook her head. "I will not reconsider. My answer is final." A shockwave moved through the chamber. This was no longer a simple refusal. This was rebellion. Royal guards tightened their grip on their weapons. Ministers exchanged terrified looks. The ambassador signaled his aides to stay calm. The emperor took one long breath and looked directly into his daughter's eyes. "Your choice may start a war," he warned. Lyra did not look away. "Then we must uncover who is truly pushing for that war. Because it is not me." The emperor's expression darkened. Something ancient within him stirred. The hall trembled with tension. And above them all, The great banners of the empire swayed in the rising wind as if they knew that history had just changed forever. The princess had spoken her first act of rebellion, and the galaxy would echo with the consequences. Asterisk. The great hall slowly emptied after the princess's shocking declaration. Ministers whispered nervously as they hurried out. Human delegates avoided eye contact with the Zirith guards. The emperor stood frozen on the throne stage, watching his daughter with a mix of anger and worry. Even the crystal lights flickered. As if the palace itself felt the weight of the moment, Princess Lyra kept her head high as royal guards guided her to a private chamber. They did not touch her but walked close enough to show that rebellion would not be ignored. Lyra understood. The message. The empire would not tolerate defiance. Still she walked without fear. Her refusal had been necessary. Something about this marriage was wrong. She could feel it like a cold shadow resting on her heart. When the chamber doors closed, the emperor entered. His presence filled the room. He looked less like a ruler and more like a father who had lost control of the one thing he valued most. "Lyra," he said, "this alliance is not just a marriage. It is our future. Explain what is driving you to destroy it." Lyra took a breath. "Father, something about the human groom is hidden from us. I found different files in the palace data archives. Files that were locked. Files that should not exist." The emperor showed no reaction. "What kind of files?" "Secret messages between unknown members of the council. References to Operation Horizon Gate. Notes about human involvement that do not match the official agreement. And warnings about a threat inside our own empire." The emperor's eyes narrowed. "You accessed restricted archives." "I had to," she answered. "If the empire asks me to give my life to diplomacy, I must know the truth." For a long moment, the emperor said nothing. His silence felt heavier than anger. "Lyra," he finally spoke, "you do not understand the political pressure we face. Peace is fragile. The council pushes for this marriage to stabilize the region. Your refusal has given our enemies the advantage." Lyra stepped closer. "Father, I do not trust the council. At least not all of them. Some of them want this marriage for reasons that have nothing to do with peace." The emperor frowned. "What are you suggesting?" Lyra's voice softened. "There is corruption in the palace. Someone is hiding something from you." Before the emperor could respond, a loud chime echoed through the chamber. A hologram of Minister Vareen appeared. His voice trembled slightly. "My emperor, the human ambassador, requests a private meeting. He says it concerns the princess." The emperor dismissed the hologram. His jaw tightened as he turned back toward Lyra. "You will remain in this chamber until I decide what to do." He left without another word. The doors sealed behind him. Lyra stood alone with her thoughts. Her refusal had unleashed a storm she could no longer control. She approached the window that overlooked the galaxy. Stars stretched like rivers of fire. Somewhere among them humans lived with hope and ambition. She did not hate them. She did not fear them. She simply knew something in this marriage was a lie. A soft sound shook her from her thoughts. The chamber door slid open. A young palace technician stepped inside. His uniform was plain. His face was nervous. "Princess, I am not supposed to be here," he whispered. "But you need to see this." Lyra's heartbeat quickened. "Who sent you?" "No one," the technician replied. "I found a deleted data fragment while cleaning the archive system. It restored itself after your refusal in the hall. I think someone wanted it destroyed." He handed her a small crystal data chip. Lyra activated it. A holographic message appeared. The image of a human fleet commander flashed across the air. The message played. "Phase 1 complete. The marriage will open the gates. The empire will fall from inside. Do not fail. US." The technician looked terrified. "I do not know if this is real. It could be fake. It could be part of a setup." Lyra stared at the recording. Every part of her mind searched for answers. Was this proof that humans were the enemy, or was someone using this recording to turn the Empire against humanity? The palace lights flickered again. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hall outside. "Princess," the technician whispered, "someone is coming. Hide the chip." Lyra closed her hand around the small crystal. Her heart pounded. If the Emperor saw this chip, he might launch a war. If the Council found it, they might silence her forever. She hid it within her robe just as the door opened. A shadow stood in the doorway. The figure wore Council armor. His mask covered his face. His voice was cold. "Princess, you must come with me. There are questions you must answer." Lyra felt the weight of the hidden chip against her side, and for the first time she realized the truth. Her refusal had not created danger, it had revealed it. The armored council guard stood in the doorway like a dark shadow. His mask hid his face. His presence felt cold and heavy inside the princess's chamber. Lyra kept her hands calm at her sides, even though her heartbeat raced. She could feel the hidden data chip pressing against her skin beneath her robe. "Princess Lyra," the guard said in a steady, controlled voice, "you will come with me. The council demands answers about your earlier actions." Lyra glanced at the young technician who had given her the chip. He stepped back nervously and lowered his head to avoid being noticed. "I will answer only to my father," Lyra said, "no one else." "The Emperor gave permission for this interrogation," the guard replied. Something felt wrong. Lyra studied the guard's stance. His movements were too stiff, too controlled. His armor had no royal crest. A true council guard always wore the crest. This one did not. "You are not a council guard," Lyra said quietly. The shadowy figure tilted his head slightly as if surprised. She noticed. Then he moved one step forward. "You will come with me now," he repeated. Before Lyra could respond, the chamber lights flickered again, and the door behind the guard opened. A second figure entered. This one was not armored. He wore a dark human diplomatic suit. His hair was black. His eyes were sharp and alert. He carried no weapon, yet his presence felt powerful. It was Captain Orion, the human groom. Lyra stared at him with shock. She had seen images of him before and heard his name in official introductions, but she had never spoken to him directly. She expected someone arrogant or manipulative, someone who wanted to use this marriage for advantage. But the man in front of her did not look dangerous. He looked ready to protect someone. His gaze moved from the fake guard to Lyra, then back again. "That man does not serve your council," Orion said firmly. "I followed him from the hallway. He disabled the real guard and took his place." Lyra exchanged a glance with the technician, who looked more frightened than before. The fake guard stepped backwards slowly as if planning an escape. Orion moved in front of Lyra and spoke again with calm confidence. "Remove your mask," Orion demanded. The guard did not obey. Instead, he reached for a hidden device on his wrist. Orion reacted instantly. He grabbed Lyra's arm and pulled her to the side, just as a bright flash burst from the guard's wrist device. The blast hit the chamber wall, leaving a deep burn mark. The guard ran for the open doorway. Orion sprinted after him with surprising speed. Lyra hesitated only a moment, then followed. The technician stayed behind in fear. The hallway lights flickered as alarms began to echo through the palace. Orion chased the assassin down the long corridor. Lyra ran close behind. She watched the human move with precise tactical skill. He did not look like a groom coming for a peaceful wedding. He moved like a trained soldier. The assassin reached a side passage and tried to escape through a service tunnel, but Orion tackled him before he could activate another weapon. The two struggled fiercely on the ground. Lyra approached carefully. The assassin suddenly pressed a button on his belt. Smoke burst out, filling the corridor with a gray cloud. When the smoke faded, the assassin was gone. Orion stood up, breathing hard. He turned to Lyra. "You should not be alone in this palace," he said. "Someone here wants you silent." Lyra studied his face. She did not sense deception. She sensed honesty. She sensed danger. And she sensed a truth she did not expect. "You knew something was wrong," Lyra said. Orion nodded. "I did. Humans received strange signals about this marriage agreement. There are forces on your council who want this alliance to fail. And if the alliance breaks, your empire and mine will fall into chaos." Lyra pulled the hidden data chip from her robe and showed it to him. "Then explain this," she said. The hologram replayed the threatening message from the human fleet commander. Orion watched with steady eyes. When the message ended, he looked at Lyra. "This message is not real," he said. "It is a deep fake. Someone wants to start a war between our people." Lyra felt her chest tighten. "Then who created this?" Orion spoke softly. "Someone with access to both of our technologies. Someone inside your palace." A distant explosion shook the floor beneath them. Alarms grew louder. Red emergency lights lit the hall. Lyra and Orion looked at each other. The palace was under attack. Not from humans, from someone inside the Empire. The palace floor trembled again as another distant explosion echoed through the halls. Red warning lights flashed against the crystal walls and turned the grand corridors into long rivers of glowing danger. Princess Lyra steadied herself while Orion turned toward the direction of the blast. His expression was sharp and focused. "This attack is not random," Orion said. "Someone timed it to follow your refusal. Someone wanted chaos today." Lyra looked around the corridor. Guards ran in different directions. Ministers shouted confused commands. No one seemed to understand what was happening. The palace that once felt like a fortress now felt like a maze filled with hidden threats. "We need answers," Lyra said. "If someone inside the palace is behind this, we must find out who." Orion nodded. "Then we must reach your father. He must be warned." Lyra agreed, but her instincts whispered that the path to the Emperor would not be safe. The palace was too silent in the wrong places and too loud in others. Someone was guiding the chaos from the shadows. They moved quickly through the halls. The smoke from the earlier attack still floated like a thin cloud in some corridors. Lyra felt a strange heaviness settle in her chest. She had grown up in these halls. She knew every tower, every bridge, every hidden lift. But now everything felt twisted, as if the palace had turned against her. When they reached the council wing, they heard voices. Not panicked voices, but calm, controlled whispers. Lyra slowed her steps and motioned Orion to stay silent. They approached the corner of the hallway and listened. Minister Vereen spoke first. "The plan is working. The Emperor is confused. The humans will be blamed for the attack. And the princess has walked directly into our hands." Lyra felt her stomach drop. She recognized Varen's smooth, polished voice anywhere. He was one of her father's closest advisors. She never trusted him, but she never imagined this. Another council member responded. "What about the girl? She refused the marriage." "She is becoming a problem," Vereen answered with a cold laugh. "The princess does not matter. Once the Emperor signs the war directive, no one will question us, and the marriage will be irrelevant." Lyra stepped back from the wall. Her heart beat painfully fast. The betrayal cut deeper than she expected. She whispered to Orion, "They planned everything. They want war. They want power." Orion placed a steady hand on her arm. "We must expose them, but not now. They cannot know we heard them." They moved away quietly and took a narrow side passage that few people used. The corridor led to a small observation deck overlooking the palace gardens. The gardens were now filled with smoke rising from unknown attacks. Distant lights flickered through the haze like lost stars. Lyra pressed her hand against the window. "My father trusts Vereen. He listens to him more than anyone. This is why he ignored the warnings. Vereen is manipulating him. Orion studied Lyra with concern. The Emperor must see the truth. But we must give him proof he cannot deny. Lyra touched the hidden pocket where she kept the data chip. We have one piece. But we need more. We need to show that Vereen is the one who forged the message and planned the attacks. Orion nodded. Then we start by locating the source of the explosions. Whoever carried out the attack will lead us to the mastermind. Before Lyra could respond, the hall lights above them flickered. A soft humming sound followed. A small drone floated into the corridor. Its metal wings clicked lightly as it scanned the area with a red beam. Orion reacted quickly. That is not a palace drone. It is a tracker. The drone stopped on Lyra and emitted a sharp pulse of light. Lyra shielded her eyes. Orion grabbed her and pulled her behind a pillar. The drone fired a small explosive charge at the pillar. The impact shook the floor. Orion pulled Lyra down to avoid debris. The drone adjusted its aim. A second shot charged. Orion moved fast. He jumped toward the drone and struck it with a broken piece of crystal from the damaged wall. Sparks flew. The drone collapsed onto the floor and stopped moving. Lyra looked at him in surprise. "You saved my life again." Orion shook his head. "We cannot stay here. They know where you are." Lyra felt the weight of those words. Someone inside the palace was tracking her movements. Someone wanted her captured or worse. And now she and Orion were alone against a growing conspiracy. She stood tall. Her fear turned into resolve. "If the council wants to play in the shadows," she said, "then we will drag them into the light." Orion looked at her with a rare hint of admiration. "Then let us move quickly. The future of both our worlds depends on it." Together they left the ruined corridor and stepped deeper into the palace where betrayal waited in every corner and the truth grew darker with every step.